Bible Encyclopedia and Dictionary Faucets. This is an old book. Okay. Esau equals hairy, rough. For at birth he came out red, whence his name Edom. All over, I repeat, all over like a hairy garment. Genesis 25 and 25. The animal appearance marked his sensual, self-willed, untamed nature in which the moral, spiritual elements were low. Sakar, hairy, may also have originated the destination of his territory, Mount Seir, i.e. thickly wooded, as he was in person, hairy, okay? And what type of hairy was he? So now we're at Edom. In Greek, Idumea equals red. Esau's surname, the firstborn of Isaac, which is so-called black man. Jacob's twin brother who sold his birthright for the red pottage of yellow-brown lentils, okay? Mount Seir, the mountainous territory having a reddish hue. Seir means rugged, applicable alike to Seir, the Hirsute, like Esau. I repeat, the Hirsute, like Esau. So now we're at the etymology of the word hirsute, adjective, hairy, 1620s, from Latin hirsutus, rough, shaggy, bristly, figuratively rude, unpolished, related to hirtus, shaggy, and possibly to horrid, to bristle with fear. So now we're at Genesis chapter 25, verse 25. And the first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. So when we look up the Strong's Concordance for hairy, it's H8163. Okay, and the English equivalent is denoted to kid, goat, devil, sire, hairy, and rough, as we've seen as in the etymology of the word hirsute. So they're letting you know who Esau is or who his progeny is. Okay, so it's not hard to figure out. Okay, rugged forest-covered territory. Let's go down right here. The Edomites became dwellers in the cliffs of the rocks, or mountains, or caves, etc. Okay. So right here in this photo, we have the Sasquatch at the top, and on the bottom, we have the shaved down modern version of the so-called white man, or Caucasian, or Edomite. Now, what are they trying to convey in this picture? As we previously said, that the black nobility, or the people that were ruling Europe, taught the wild man, aka Edom or Esau, how to be civilized, to take baths. They shaved them down and put them to work in the fields. So truth be told, they mythologize their real origin or their story, right? We know in conventional history, they're known as Neanderthal man, aka Esau or Edom. So in order for them to keep this allure of their false whitewashed history, they have to miseducate and teach that so-called blacks have just a history of slavery. It works to their advantage because nowadays they don't have to talk about slavery. They just get the black liberals to do their work for them, right? So now we're at Job chapter 30, verse 7. The NIV version states, they brayed among the bushes and hurtled in the undergrowth. The New Living Translation states, they sound like animals howling among the bushes, hurtled together beneath the nettles. Tail! All right, so now we're at the Oxford Dictionary Languages, and it states, past tense, braid of a donkey or mule, utter a bray. Okay, number 2, of a person, speak or laugh loudly and harshly. He brayed with laughter. Similar, roar, bellow, and trumpet. So we're going to show a couple of clips of the so-called white man or Neanderthal man, aka Esau/Edom, right? In his bestial state. Because believe it or not, Harry and the Hendersons is a movie linked up with Planet of the Apes. And we know this because metaphorically the apes are the so-called blacks or blacks of the captivity, aka the Israelites, the ancient Israelites or the children of Israel and so forth. And then in the movie Harry and the Andersons, Harry, get it, or Harry, metaphorically, the so-called Caucasian is linked up with the Sasquatch, Bigfoot, meaning what? They don't really exist. They have to mythologize their history. Okay, but in their bestial state, yes, they were hairy all over, like a hairy Hirsute, like Esau, right?
Do you have any idea what your mercy would do to us? You're much stronger than we are.
So now we're at Genesis chapter 25, verse 23. And the Lord, or Yahweh, said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, and the one people shall be stronger than the other people, as just alluded in the film War, Planet of the Apes. And the elder shall serve the younger.
You're smart as hell. No matter what you say, you'd eventually replace us. That's the law of nature. The irony is we created you.
The real irony is that we created them, our ancestors, our forefathers. The so-called white man or Edomite or Esau comes from Isaac, a so-called black man. Like I've stated, metaphorically in the movies like Planet of the Apes, the ape represents the so-called black man or the Israelites, the children of Israel. And in the other movie, Harry and the Andersons, the Sasquatch or Bigfoot, that alludes to the Neanderthal man, aka Esau or the Edomites, so-called modern Caucasians, okay? The ones that are shaved down and have intermixture of black nobility in their blood as well, okay? Recessive cannot produce dominant genes. Only dominant can produce recessive genes.
We try to defy nature, bend it to our will. Nature has been punishing us for our arrogance ever since. 10 months ago, I sent out recon units to look for your base. My own son was a soldier with one of the units. One day, he suddenly stopped speaking. He became primitive, like an animal.
Let's read it again. Esau equals hairy, rough. For at birth he came out red, whence his name Edom. All over, like we just stated previously, a hairy garment. Sakar, hairy, may have also originated the destination of his territory, Mount Seir, okay? As he was in person, hairy. Right here, Esau, like Nimrod, was a cunning, skillful hunter, a man of the field or desert, wild, restless, and self-indulgent, okay?
They contacted me and said that they thought he lost his mind, that the war was too much for him. Then the man who cared for him stopped speaking too. Their medic had a theory before he stopped speaking, that the virus that almost wiped us out, the virus that every human survivor still carries, had suddenly changed, mutated. And that if it spread, it would destroy humanity for good this time. Not by killing us, but by robbing us of those things that make us human. Our speech, our higher thinking.
Are you what we were? Before we learned to talk, made a mess of everything. Did any good ever come from all that talk around all those tables?
So in this scene, which is in the movie Beneath the Planet of the Apes, which came out in 1970, he says, what good has come of all that talk and around the round tables? So if you know your history, you know that the Caucasians or Esau or the Edomites were taught. They were godless people. They were in their bestial state. They didn't learn any speech. And it was our ancestors who taught them the oracles and the scriptures as well.
It would turn us into beasts. You talk about mercy. what would you have done?
Harry?
So in this clip, we're going to see the quote-unquote Sasquatch or Bigfoot, which is in all reality the antecedent of the so-called modern Caucasians. That being, this is Esau or Edom, the hairy man of the Middle Ages and so forth. To be more correct, the wild man would be a better statement, because during the Middle Ages, this was them in a bestial state, okay? Uncivilized, no speech, grunting.
You take care of yourself now, okay? Okay. Mon Dieu! They have a language?
So right here we have the movie Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Now this is a similar ending scene when Caesar speaks, right, to James Franco.
Caesar is home.
So let's think about it. When we look at the Darwin's theory of evolution, we see the ape, and we know in the movies the ape metaphorically represents the so-called blacks, and then it's evolving into a so-called white man or Caucasian, which is Esau or the Edomites. Because the progeny of Esau, at least the ones that came out of the Caucasus Mountains, those consist of Mongols, Turks, and the Khazars, and so forth. But they sprang from so-called black people, or in the scriptures, Esau came from Isaac, right? Now we're at the Holy Bible, the KJV, Job 9 and 24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. Now who's ruling the earth? What progeny or what seed line is in all kingdoms of the earth? I think we know who that progeny or that seed line is, okay? So right here, we're at the Apocrypha. We're going to precept Job 9 and 24. And we're going to go to 2nd Esdras chapter 6. We're going to start at 6. Then did I consider these things, and they all were made through me alone, and through none other. By me also they shall be ended, and won by none other. Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first, and the beginning of it that followeth? Verse 8, and he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born, of him Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. Verse 9, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob or Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So we just read Job 9 and 24, the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. So we should know who's ruling right now, okay? They've even made books telling on themselves, because they tell on themselves in the movies as well. Who is Esau, Edom, okay? Another good book. So now we're going to go to Jeremiah chapter 30, I believe. Or Job 30, excuse me. Job 30. Okay. Job chapter 30. Okay. The Caucasian Edomites. But now they mock at me, men younger than I, whose fathers I disdain to put with my dogs of my flock. Indeed, what profit is the strength of their hands to me? Their valor has perished. They are gaunt from want and famine, fleeing late to the wilderness, desolate and waste, who pluck mallow by the bushes and broom tree roots for their food. They were driven out from among men. Okay? So the progeny of Esau, the Edomites, they were driven to the Caucasus Mountains, the Russian steppe. Okay? Europe is the bottomless pit. It has, well, it doesn't have minerals. It's mineral deficiency. That's why they had to come up from the bottomless pit, which is Europe, the Caucasus Mountains, and they ascended to various nations, depleting resources, conquering the indigenous aboriginal tribes and so forth. Okay. They shouted at them as at a thief. They had to live in the cliffs of the valleys, in caves of the earth and the rocks. Now we should know, from conventional history, they're known as the Neanderthals, but biblically, they're the Edomites. They lived and dwelled in caves. Started from Mount Seir, then they moved all the way up to around Europe and, like I said, the Russian steppe, Asia, and settled up there. Among the bushes, they brayed, means grunting, the teeth and so forth.
Before we learned to talk, made a mess of everything. Did any good ever come from all that talk around all those tables?
Under the nettles, they nestled. They were sons of fools, yes, sons of vile men. They were scourged from the land. Let's get a precept. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 16. Isn't that right? Hebrews chapter 12, verse 16. Lest there be any fornicator or profane person like Esau, who for one morsel of food sold his birthright. Now, under number one, profane, we have godless. So the black nobility had to teach the Edomites, or Esau, his progeny, how to teach them, be civilized, how to bathe, know the oracles of the Most High through the scriptures. But through the miseducation here in America, they brainwashed our people to believe that the Bible was written by so-called white men. That's not the case. We had to teach them how to be civilized.
What we don't have in our history books is that the civilization we have in Europe today was brought to us by black people. Even black people don't know that. Even many black people don't know that. They don't know that the Moors, they were West Africans and North Africans and Central Africans that came to Europe and ruled Spain. They brought civilization to us. They showed us how to use soap, how to be clean, how to behave like a decent human being, All these things, we didn't know that before the Moors brought civilization to Spain. Did you know that the Moors ruled in Spain for 700 years? Where is that in our history books? It's nowhere to be found. Because why? If you are giving black people that power of having once ruled over white people, wouldn't black people start questioning, oh, we were once at that point of having such a power in a white man's country over white people? And where are we now? So of course they have to hide that history from you people, because knowing your true history is knowing your true power.
This all started in Florida. The Seminole Wars that they never talked about, because the black men that fought in them wars, they were already here. They already knew that they came from Africa, from Jerusalem and that part, so they knew already the tribes that they were from, you know what I'm saying? Like the Seminoles come from Edith, the tribe of Edith, out of Jerusalem. You can read on that too. And then they come here. Seminole is in the Bible, but it's broke down in syllables, you know what I'm saying? And it always was because they were warriors. They never let out, they never let out. So when they were here, and then the English and the Spanish started coming, that's why you didn't know, like a lot of people don't understand, like in Spain, there are a lot of Moors. There were a lot, the dances they do in Spain are Moor dances. The dances they do in Oaxaca, Guerrero, that's Moor. You know what I mean? Because Moors are black who were cultivated cultivated everything before. And then they wanted to take that power away from them. Because how do you break people? The infrastructure, the power, them knowing what they are. And the Seminole Wars, the Black Seminoles, they went to Oklahoma. They were there like 10 years. But you see, like the Florida Seminoles that are there now, that's not original Florida Seminoles.
Gotcha.
Okay, that's why if you look at the Caribbeans, they have Seminoles there too. Because black people were already here, bro. If you look at history, yeah, they're put down like when they brought all the Germans. But okay, where's ours? If y'all brought so many slaves over here, then where's that at? Because it's a lot.
Right.
You didn't bring nobody over here. Yeah, you brought a couple of them. I think it was like 4 or 5%. But you didn't bring none that you say now, like what they do in America, the infrastructure of slavery was for them to win, for them to be able to gain. You know what I mean? Because they couldn't gain over us. So those Seminole Wars were all over that because of what had already transpired in Africa. But when they came to here, the blacks were like, no, y'all know this, that we were never slaves to y'all.
The blacks were like, no, y'all know this, that we were never slaves to y'all. The blacks were like, no, y'all know this, that we were never slaves to y'all.
So they fought. They had like 3 Seminole Wars in Florida, won all of them. They don't say that in history. They went to Oklahoma because they say, all right, cool, they're going to be here in Oklahoma. The black Seminoles never were satisfied because they said, okay, we're here 10 years, and the United States government tried to take them back into slavery. So they came down, you know, and they were here. That's like the Caribbeans. If blacks were in the Caribbean, why would they not be here? Dominican Republic, all that, Haitians, all that. It's the same. Why would they not be here? My dad's brother, he was really very proud of him he was very proud of being black, of what he was. He never denied it. Like I am. I'm very proud of being black. You know what I mean? You can't make no other color without black.
You know what I mean? You can't make no other color without black.
Like the Oaxaca Guerrero, what I'm telling you about, a lot of the guys that were real revolutionaries in the Mexican history, they were mixed with black. Right. But they keep that out of it. It's like in Brazil, just like in Colombia, Argentina, all them places. It's being suppressed, France, all that. If you look at France, why did France win the World Cup when they won it? They won it because they had nothing but black talent. If you look at the ideology of France, okay, you saying that these are white guys, then why did not that color of people win it? They were blacks. That won you. Oh, but it's good for when we win stuff for you, but it's not good for us to want our own. That should be told, you know? But it's good when you suppressing us, but you making money off of us.
And know the oracles of God and so forth. Okay? Because they were godless creatures, or they were in a bestial state. So we should know that Job 30 is talking about the Caucasian Edomites in the Dark Ages, or, you know, the Middle Ages. They were known as the wild man of the Dark Ages. They were driven to the bottomless pit, which is what? The Caucasus Mountains. So let's go to Revelations. Let's see, chapter 20, verse 3. We'll start at 20. Then I saw an angel coming down from heaven, having the key to the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. Now, this is metaphorically speaking, figuratively speaking, talking about who or where? Europe, the Caucasus Mountains. He laid hold of the dragon, that serpent of old. Who is he? The devil. Now we know from the Strong's Concordance who the devil is described as. So right here we have the drawing of a faun, okay? Originally, fauns of Roman mythology were spirits of rustic places, lesser versions of their chief, the god Faunus. Before the conflation with Greek sayers, they and Faunus were represented as nude men, e.g. the Berberini fauns. Later, fauns became copies of the sayers of Greek mythology, whom themselves were originally shown as part horse rather than part goat. Okay, so the goat is synonymous with the so-called white man or Caucasians, or the progeny of Esau, Edom, right? Reading on, by the Renaissance, fauns were depicted as bipedal creatures with the horns, legs, and tail of a goat and the head, torso, and arms of a human. They are often depicted with pointed ears. These late-form mythological creatures borrowed their appearance from the sayers, who in turn borrowed their appearance from the god Pan of the Greek pantheon. They were symbols of peace and fertility, and the Greek chieftain Slenus was a minor deity of Greek mythology. But we know from the scriptures, Esau was described as being hairy all over, even his hands. A Seir, or Seir, the goat legs, the Caucasian, right? And Satan had bound him for 1,000 years. Okay? 1,000 years was the black nobility ruling over the Edomites in that period. Verse 3, and he cast him to the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal on him so that he should deceive the nations no more till the 1,000 years were finished. Okay? So this Esau, his progeny, and so forth, they've deceived the nations. You know, when you tell people that you're an Israelite, or, you know, what's not taught in conventional history, you know, they look at you like you're crazy because, you know, the Rothschilds and their education system has corrupt, you know, our thinking and, you know, our history, our real history, and so forth. But the bottomless pit is talking about Europe, or the Caucasus Mountains, where they dwelled, right? And when you look at certain movies like Lord of the Rings, the orcs and stuff like that, their descendants, their progeny, they dwelled in caves. They had long body hair, hirsute. They had sex with animals, dogs, and they practiced cannibalism. This is real history that's not taught in the conventional or church system, what we call Christianity or Roman Catholicism, right? Let's see. So let's go to Revelations 13 and 3. 13 and 3. The beast from the sea. I saw one of his heads as if it had been mortally wounded, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world marveled and followed the beast. And the beast is metaphorically talking about the beast system, okay, as described in Daniel, okay? Metaphorically, it's not talking about a literal beast, but it's the beast system, okay? So they worshiped the dragon, verse 4, who gave authority to the beast, which is what we would call the matrix, or the system that we're in, the last kingdom. And they worshiped the beast, saying, who is like the beast, who is able to make war with him. Verse 5, and he was given a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and he was given authority to continue for 42 months. All right. Okay, we're going to go to verse 10. We're going to start at 9. If anyone has an ear, let him hear. He who leads into captivity shall go into captivity. He who kills with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. And who are the saints? The Israelites, the progeny of Jacob or Jacob. Okay, it's a bloodline. Okay, laws, statutes, and commandments. The scriptures have nothing to do with religion, believe it or not. So now we're going to go to Job 9 and 24. Back at 9 and 24, excuse me. The earth is given into the hands of the wicked, and we know Esau is in their rulership, or what they call white supremacy, right? Okay. If you're going to rule, you want to be the head, not the tail. There's no such thing as equality. So right here we have Esau rebuilt his kingdom successfully, okay? And we know this due to Renaissance, the Western Roman Empire. Today we have NATO. The Most High is going to destroy their kingdom because it's wicked, okay? Like Sodom and Gomorrah, Kemet, Egypt, etc. Okay, this is the last rulership of the Caucasians. They haven't been in they haven't been in power for 300, 400, 500 years and so forth, okay? They rose into great power during the late 1900s, okay? Because they can't sustain a society for a long period. But let's see. Now we're going to go to who were the saints. Okay, Psalms 55 through 6. Gather my saints together to me, those who have made a covenant with me by sacrifice. And those were the children or progeny of Jacob, the Israelites. Okay, so let's go to Deuteronomy 33:3. Let's see. Deuteronomy 33:3. 33:3. Yes, he loved the people. All his saints are in your hand. They sit down at your feet. Everyone receives your words. Moses commanded a law for us, a heritage of the congregation of Jacob. Okay, so it was the Israelites who received the law, statutes, and commandments. Okay. All the tribes of Israel together. So right here we have the wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14, verse 15. For a father afflicted with untimely mourning, when he has made an image of his son soon taken away, now honored him as a god, which was then a dead man, and delivered to those that were under him ceremonies and sacrifices. So most of the world and Esau's progeny and descendants believe that this is their Messiah, quote unquote, Jesus Christ. But we know from conventional history where the Caucasians come from and what their lineage is. So Jesus, or what we call Yashar'el, could not be an Edomite. He didn't have pale skin. There was no recessive genes in him. He was a man of color, so-called black or boxwood.
So when are white Christians gonna admit that if Jesus showed up in America in 2020, he would be a black man shot by the police? Think about it. He literally was a black man, and he was murdered by his judicial system because he went against the system of power that was oppressing people. Like, that's literally America.
Reading on, a father afflicted with untimely mourning, that Rodrigo Borgia, pronouncing that right, when he made an image of his child, that's in reference to his son, Caesar Borgia, image put up to be Christ, which is how they honored him as a god, though he was a dead man in Rome. They used this false image of Caesar Borgia as Christ, and they brought forth a false teaching and ceremony and sacrifices and holidays, all along with the image to deceive the people to believe these things were of. So the whole world has been deceived. A Edomite cannot be the Messiah. It should be clear as day, but peace.